Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, the baseball team hosted in-state rival Purdue on Wednesday afternoon for the team's highly anticipated home opener.
And we preview the Big Ten women's basketball tournament in Indianapolis for the Hoosiers. This is Hoosier Sports Night.
Hello and welcome into Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Miya Ingle.
And I'm Jackson Kinney. And Miya, it is finally getting warm outside. It is finally almost spring.
And that means with spring sports upon us, winter sports still going on, we have a ton of really good content for you guys on today's show, and we'll start off with baseball. So after last week's home game against Butler got postponed due to bad weather, the baseball team hosted the Boilermakers on Wednesday to kick off their 2020 home slate. After 3 weeks on the road, the Hoosiers finally got to play on their home turf on Wednesday when they hosted in-state rival Purdue. The Boilermakers got on the board early with a bases-loaded walk in the top of the first to take a 1-0 lead, but it didn't take long for Indiana to respond. The Hoosiers started off the game with a 7-run first inning and kept that momentum going the entire game. They finished with 16 hits and 17 runs against Purdue, and one key player to look at from that game was Jordan Fusey. He finished with 5 RBIs on the day.
I was just trying to stay simple, hit something backside, try to drive some runs in, and paid off. But yeah, just don't try to do too much when people are on base, and that's been the mindset, so that's worked out for me.
Fusey took that mindset up to the plate in the bottom of the first with the bases loaded and hit a 3-run double to left center field to kick off the Hoosiers' 7-run first inning. IU starting pitcher McCade Brown struggled with his control and was taken out of the game after the first inning. Then senior Cal Kruger stepped up to the mound in the second inning with no time to warm up in the bullpen beforehand, but managed to execute the plan he was given.
Cal's a really tough kid and has been from the moment that we got here, and he's the guy that's you just trust. You trust in a tough spot to come in and be able to handle that situation, and he came into exactly what we needed him to do, was settle things down and throw strikes and execute, and you guys a chance to kind of get back onto our game plan with David and the rest of those guys.
IU stayed consistent at bat throughout the next few innings and had another breakthrough inning in the bottom of the 5th when the team scored 5 more runs that once again started with a Jordan Fusey RBI. Hunter Jesse, Jeremy Houston, and Grant Richardson took after Fusey as they each hit an RBI single themselves to put the Hoosiers up 17-1 after 5 innings. Kruger collected his first win of the season after striking out 2 batters in his 2 innings pitched. The Hoosiers beat Purdue in their home opener 17-2 in 7 innings to improve their record to 7-3 on the season. Reporting for IUS TV Sports, I'm Miya Ingle. The Hoosiers will continue their home stretch this weekend with a 3-game series against San Diego starting on Saturday at 2 p.m.
The women's basketball team will begin play in the Big Ten basketball tournament this weekend up in Indianapolis. Our own Jimmy Sutton is in studio to preview the action.
Thanks, Jackson. The women's basketball team locked up the 4th seed and a double bye in the Big Ten tournament this season. And now they'll be taking on 5th-seeded Rutgers in the quarterfinals. The double bye is a huge advantage for Indiana, as last year they played in the 10 spot and had to play in Thursday's games. But this year, it's going to be a little bit different. After winning 23 games overall this season and 13 coming in the Big Ten, the Hoosiers had some major victories. And now, after being on a 3-game win streak to end this season, they will look to carry this momentum right into their first postseason game. Earlier this season, when the Hoosiers took on the Scarlet Knights, they went on the road in Piscataway and came home with a 66-56 win. They were led by a trio of Jalen Penn, Grace Berger, and Alexa Gulbe. Penn had 14 points, followed by Berger's 13, and then Gulbe was right there with 11 of her own. The Hoosiers haven't played since Sunday, so they should get some good rest, and then for the Hoosiers to keep on playing well this weekend, they will have to get Grace Berger going as a scorer, and they'll have to continue feeding the ball down low to Mackenzie Holmes with the minutes that she's provided. And of course, Allie Patberg will continue to do what she does best as the floor general for this team. But one thing that's for sure, Indiana wants to win. The Hoosiers plan to do just that, so catch all the action on the Big Ten Network as Indiana takes on Rutgers in the quarterfinals this weekend. Back to you, Jackson.
Thank you, Jimmy. Be sure to follow Jimmy as he'll be providing updates from Friday's game at Bankers Life Fieldhouse.
Meanwhile, the men's basketball team is in a position where they're fighting every game for not only a win, but also for a spot in the NCAA tournament, aka they're on the bubble. With only one game left in the regular season, every game is huge right now for the Hoosiers, especially Wednesday night's game against Minnesota. Men's basketball beat reporter Jack Grossman joins us in studio to break down the game.
Thanks, Maya. The Hoosiers have found themselves on the wrong side of the bubble each of the last 3 years, but IU has found themselves in a spot to help solidify a berth to the big dance on Wednesday night at home against Minnesota. Let's get to the highlights. IU star forward Trayce Jackson-Davis has been hobbled by a foot sprain, and there was speculation of how much the injury would affect his play against the Gophers. Early on, no issues for TJD, running in transition, able to get the put back in after the good feed from Rob Finney. Then a couple plays later, we see Justin Smith. No foul on the contact. That's a break for IU. Able to get the steal, lay it in, falling down in patented fashion. Indiana off to an early 11-2 lead. Back to Jackson-Davis. A really good inbounds play from Archie Miller. The Al Durham screen frees Jackson-Davis up just enough to be able to get the layup and the foul. Then Rob Finney able to slither through the lane, kiss it off the backboard, and in. The Hoosiers are rolling early in the first half. Back to Jackson-Davis. A beautiful pivot gets Daniel Oturu in the air for the lay-in. Hoosiers lead by 10, but Minnesota comes back. Peyton Willis, whatever bank he has, I want to join it because it's open all night. Bangs a 3. And then Isaiah Inine, only averaging 2.7 points per game on the season, hits back-to-back threes. His 15th 3 of the season, this one right here, to power an 8-1 Golden Gopher run. And after Devontae Green can't get the buzzer beater to go from half court, Minnesota actually led IU 34-32 at the break. Second half, first possession for IU, establishing things early. Al Durham to Joey Brunk for the easy layup. Then it's Durham off another good out-of-bounds play. This one a box set leading to a down screen and a wide-open Durham 3, an 8-0 Hoosier run to retake the lead early in the second period. Indiana keeping that momentum going. Durham off a steal. Beautiful bounce pass to Justin Smith, who finishes with the one-handed slam. Minnesota, again, didn't go away, though. Daniel Oturu only had 11 makes and 27 shots, but he's able to get that one to go and then gets the steal and the slam on the next possession. Minnesota back up 1 with 10:44 to go in the ball game, but Indiana would not be denied. This is a big turning point. Off the steal, Justin Smith misses the layup, but Rob Finney, the smallest player on the floor, out-hustles 4 Golden Gophers to be able to tip the ball in and re-give IU the lead. Then it's Joey Brunk. He struggled so much over the past 6 weeks, but there he was able to get the layup and the foul, and then Brunk in the post off the glass, and Joey had 12 points and 8 rebounds on the day. Back to Trayce Jackson-Davis, a good feed from Al Durham for the slam for TJD. He had 18 and 9, and then Al Durham off a really good curl gets the and 1. That puts IU up 7 with about 5 minutes to go, and they would hold on to win 72-67. All 5 Hoosier starters were in double figures on the day. While the victory helps the Hoosiers, God, I messed that up on the script. I'm so sorry. While the victory helps the Hoosiers' NCAA tournament hopes, they will have a chance to seal a bid to the big dance as they close out the regular season at home against a red-hot Wisconsin team on Saturday. Meredith Struing and I will have live coverage from Simon Scott Assembly Hall for IUS TV Sports. Tip-off is set for noon. Maya, back to you.
Thanks, Jack. Like Jack said, there's only one more regular season game left before the Big Ten tournament begins in Indianapolis on Wednesday.
Last weekend, the men's Big Ten swimming and diving championship was in town here in Bloomington. Our reporters Brandon Schaff and Jake Toppin were on the scene.
Hi everybody, welcome back to Councilman Billingsley Aquatic Center. Brandon Schaff alongside Jake Toppin. Jake, this is our last recap of the season here, at least at home for the Big Ten championships. They just concluded here. After day 4, Indiana fell behind Ohio State right at the last second to finish in 3rd place behind the Buckeyes. And Michigan, the Wolverines, led pretty much from the get-go from day 1, and they never gave up the lead. But it was an exciting go. It was an exciting one from the get-go.
Yeah, it was an exciting meet for Indiana. Although they didn't win, it was a great meet. They had a lot of personal best swims, so it was a fun meet. Michigan won the meet for the first time in 4 years. And then it came down to the last relay, the 400 free relay. And if Michigan would have gotten 3rd, or second, then Ohio State would have gotten second in the meet, and then Indiana would have gotten second. So Michigan won the meet. Ohio State just barely beat Indiana for second by 8 points, but it was a good meet, and Indiana has a lot to take away from it.
Well, there is a lot to take away from it, and we certainly have a lot of athletes to break down, one of which being probably the swimmer in the meet in Bruno Bleskovich. He was absolutely incredible. He had 6 gold medals to go along with an NCAA A-cut, but it was really more than just what the number said.
Yeah, he had, like you said, 6 gold medals, which is incredible, and he won swimmer of the meet, so props to him, and he deserved it. He's only a junior, so Indiana gets him back next year too, so that'll be exciting. And just the way he swam those freestyles, like once he gets in the pool and he gets underwater and comes out, like his straight arm is insane. He's a great swimmer, and Indiana is lucky to have him back next year.
Well, let's talk about somebody who's not a junior. Let's talk about a freshman in Brendan Burns. We've been talking about Brendan Burns pretty much all season long. You were talking about how coveted of a recruit he was and how big this was going to be for the Indiana program that he came here. Well, it really paid dividends in this meet, seeing how he swam yesterday.
Yeah, he is an athlete, I'll say that. Brendan Burns, he won the 200 fly on Saturday night, and it was a pretty exciting race to watch. On the first wall, he short-armed his wall, so he fell behind, and it was an uphill race for him, uphill race there from then on out for him. But he came back, and his underwater kick is incredible. So he came back, and he won the 200 fly in 1:40.98. So that's pretty quick. And, I mean, he's only a freshman, so he's got a bright future ahead of him for the program.
And probably one of the most exciting finishes of the entire weekend was Gabriel Fantoni. What an experience there in the backstretch, finishing that up.
Yeah, I remember we were up there, and I was like, he's in lane 7, so he's outside smoke, and he proved that he's the best 200 backstroker in the Big Ten. It was a pretty close race. I think everyone was separated by about a second, or less than a second. And on that last wall, there were 3 guys that were tied coming into the last turn, and he literally kicked out all 15 meters to breakout, and he won the race. So pretty exciting, and a great meet for him all around, not just the 200 back.
Yeah. Well, Ray Lewis certainly had to be excited about the production. Obviously, he can't be happy with the result, the final result being 3rd place. You know, they've won the Big Ten championships the past 3 seasons, so they've won 3 out of the last 4. But what do you think going forward here? What does this program look like heading into NCAAs and really in the future in general?
I feel like for the future, they're set for next year. They have a good recruiting class coming in, and they're bringing back 2 of their best swimmers, Brendan Burns, who's only a freshman this year. And
we can't say enough about Brendan Burns.
And Bruno Bleskovich, who's coming back because he's only a junior. But the one person I will say that's going to be exciting to watch next year is not a swimmer, he's a diver. He's going to be exciting to watch next year. Andrew Capobianco, he's a guy that's going to be exciting to watch next year. He redshirted this year, but he'll be back next year. So they'll have a pretty deep team next year as well.
Yeah, Capobianco is an interesting point, too. You don't want to think about Indiana's inability to really put up major points in the diving event. While he was certainly going to be a huge component for the Hoosiers if he was able to compete, but he's actually redshirting to compete in Tokyo. But other than that, pretty much a good meet all around.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't take it away from the other Indiana divers. The other Indiana divers dove really well as well. Maury Gold dove really well, and Cole Van Dever dove really well too. So props to them. It'll be nice to have Capobianco back next year, though.
Definitely. Well, that's it from here at Councilman Billings, the Aquatic Center. The final scores were Michigan with 1,548 points, Ohio State with 1,329, and Indiana finished in 3rd place, just 8 points behind the Buckeyes with 1,321 points. For IUS TV Sports, this is Jake Top, and I'm Brandon Schaff, and we will see you next season.
The men's team will take their 10th consecutive top 3 Big Ten finish and try to build off of it when the NCAA championships begin on March 25th in Indianapolis.
The Little 500 is still over 2 months away, but official practice for all teams has begun. However, one team in the men's race is different than the rest. Griffin Epstein brings us a story of a team trying to keep history alive while keeping up with the modern demands of the Little 500.
From the outside, Forest Cycling appears to be any other Little 500 team. Training on a cold winter's night, bonding together through laps and laps and laps around the Bill Armstrong Stadium track. Yet among the tens of teams in the race, this one stands out.
We're the last of the long-standing tradition of the dorm teams being prevalent in this race, so it really is bittersweet.
69 years ago, the Little 500 was a competition between dormitories and fraternities. However, today, what remains, besides Forest, are entirely fraternity or independently sponsored teams, such as the back-to-back defending champion Cutter's team. And as Little 500 has become more demanding, the difficulties have increased for Residence Hall teams to stay afloat.
We have to worry about funding, and we have to worry about getting all the necessary equipment and everything to be eligible for the race and to, race effectively. And
Today, Forest Cycling has to petition for money through the Residence Hall student government, while looking for resources that are not as problematic for most other teams.
Being the only remaining male team still sponsored by a dormitory has added difficulties beyond fundraising. They have the mentality of being a dark horse.
We definitely are like the standard underdog story, I feel like, since there are lots of independent teams, lots of Greek teams, but since we're the only one, so when you mention a Residence Hall team, we are that team that's being mentioned. So if we were able to pull off a win or a good finish or whatever, it's just that underdog story you see in movies.
Whether or not Forest finishes the Cinderella story, they'll have much of the support from the stands. While 1,000 residents live in Forest, over 8,000 freshmen live on campus. On Saturday, April 25th, they will have a team representing them on the track. That's not added pressure on Forest, but just extra motivation over the next 2 months.
The thousands of fans that come out to support us on race day and the 70 years of history of this race, all of that is what matters, and that's why we're out here putting in the work, no matter the weather.
Forest will be contending against better finance fraternity and independent teams this spring. However, they'll have the support of the thousands of students living in residence halls. And as Forest cycling teams have been doing for the past 69 years, they'll keep riding. For IUS TV Sports, I'm Griffin Epstein.
Continue to follow Griffin Epstein, Meredith Strewing, and Lauren Beery for updates and features on the Little 500 up until race weekend on April 24th and 25th.
When Hoosier Sports Night continues, we have our own Jordan Gould in studio for another edition of Upon Further Review.
And we bring you the latest on the women's tennis team. You're watching Hoosier Sports Night. Welcome back into Hoosier Sports Night. In studio with us now is Jordan Gould, here for Upon Further Review. This week is all about women's basketball head coach Terry Morin. Jordan, what do you got for us?
If Terry Morin has proven one thing over the past several seasons while head coach of IU women's basketball, it's this. The teams she coaches are made for March. Just 2 seasons ago, Morin took the Tyra Buss and Amanda Cahill-led Hoosiers all the way to an NIT championship. And last year, Morin had her team rolling at the right time of the year once again, picking up a signature win against Iowa at home late in the season, and then against Texas in the first round of the NCAA tournament as a 10 seed, before having their season come to an end at the hands of Sabrina Ionescu and the Oregon Ducks. Now, this year, the expectations were even higher for Indiana, and they answered the call. How about with what arguably looks like the best win in program history to date, beating the current #1 team in the nation, South Carolina, down at the Paradise Jam in the Virgin Islands by 14 points. Absolute dominance. So, you might be asking, what has been Terry Morin's secret sauce? Well, maybe it's been the play from her guards. Junior Allie Padberg has been leading the way with over 15 points a game, and the emergence of sophomore Grace Berger has been a big part of the Hoosiers' success. As a team, Indiana is top 20 in the country in field goal percentage and made free throws, and is top 40 in scoring offense and defending threes from beyond the arc. Following their action in the Big Ten tournament, Indiana will await their fate coming up on Sunday when the complete bracket is revealed. Currently, Indiana is projected as a 5 seed in ESPN's latest bracketology. No matter what happens if Indiana ends up a 4 seed and gets to host the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament at Assembly Hall or not, one thing is for sure, Terry Morin will have her team ready to go against whoever the competition might be. I'm Jordan Gould, and this was Upon Further Review.
Thank you, Jordan. Once again, Terry Morin will look to continue her and her team's success in the women's Big Ten tournament in Indianapolis starting this weekend.
Last weekend, the women's tennis team opened home Big Ten play against the Penn State Nittany Lions. Our reporter Luke Norton was there for all the action.
The Hoosiers opened up Big Ten play on Friday at Northwestern before returning home to take on another Big Ten squad in Penn State on Sunday. The team opened up their weekend with a 4-0 loss against the Wildcats, but were able to come back on Sunday, defeating Penn State to keep alive their streak of not losing 2 matches in a row.
If you know this, but on Friday night, our bus broke down. Oh, no. Coming back from Northwestern, we didn't get here until 4:30 in the morning. We were supposed to be here at 1, but 4:30, and then we practiced yesterday.
Here in the morning yesterday.
Yeah, we practiced early, because the men's match. So I know they're exhausted. That's why I told them today. I said, find the excuse is there. If we lose, the excuse is we're too tired. But find a reason to do it, and they did, man.
Resiliency. I think we were all pretty resilient. We all chose a certain word, of encouragement for us. Everybody has their own word. Mine was stubbornness, and some people chose belief. Some people chose patience. So everybody stuck to their word, and I think in the end it really, really helped us.
After facing numerous trials this past weekend, the team will head up north on Friday to take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish before coming home on Sunday to face off against the DePaul Blue Demons. For IUS TV Sports, I'm Luke Christopher Norton.
This weekend, they will take on a trio of opponents facing Notre Dame, DePaul, and Miami of Ohio, with the latter two being here at home.
The men's tennis team looked to continue their perfect home record over the weekend as they hosted Drake and 25th ranked Dartmouth. Jack Edwards and Tao Lau have the recap.
It was a big weekend for Indiana men's tennis, picking up 2 wins over Drake and Dartmouth. The pair of home wins continue Indiana's perfect home record and put the team at its best spot through 11 games since 2010-2011.
Yeah, we've been able to be on a nice winning streak here, and I think playing a lot at home, playing in front of our home crowd, and guys really meshing well together, winning a lot of doubles points as well, so I think it all kind of is helping us win some of these matches.
Starting things off on Friday, IU brought out the broom for the second time this season and swept the Drake Bulldogs 7-0. Bennett Crane won the first set of a singles match for the first time this year.
I think for me it was a slow start at the beginning of the first set, and now once I've gotten a quicker start to start the match, then I've just been able to kind of roll with things. So I don't think I've taken any different approach, but more just a little bit more confidence, I think.
But the highlight of the weekend was a top 50 match against the Dartmouth Big Green. IU won a closely fought doubles point, which came down to the fine margins.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Brodney's been for 4 years one of our toughest outs, toughest competitors, and for him to come up with that big serve is another great example of doing that. I think when he did that and made it 5-all, we quickly got a break on court 2, and that pumped him up, and then that pumped Zach and Bennett up, so they kind of fed off each other, which I think was so crucial. But it all started with that ace and no ad.
And there's a new face securing the 4th point for the Hoosiers, freshman Luka Vukovic.
It was a good feeling. It was the first one that I've done. First time I've sealed the win. Most of my other matches were either, kind of done early. All of them were done early, so it was nice to kind of get the win for the team.
For IUS TV Sports, this has been Jack Edwards and Todd Lau.
The Hoosiers will head to Evanston, Illinois on March 14th to take on Northwestern for a Big Ten Conference matchup.
The women's golf team found themselves down in Coral Gables, Florida earlier this week, enjoying the warm weather. The Hoosier women competed in the Hurricane Invitational, where they were led by junior Mary Parsons, who posted her best score in the final round of the competition by carding a 75 and finishing at 13 over. Sophomore Alexis Mistowski would have the best individual round for the team, firing a 72 in the final round. Mistowski finished 4 shots behind Parsons for second on the team. The women's golf team will be back in action during spring break at the Briars Creek Invitational in Charleston, South Carolina.
Indiana Water Polo has extended its win streak to 7 games, the longest the team has seen since 2017. The Hoosiers cleaned up at the Cal Lutheran Invite, beating Fresno Pacific 17-3, Cal Lutheran 21-7, and CSU Monterey Bay 17-5. In their final matchup against CSU East Bay, 4 Hoosiers recorded hat tricks. Indiana would go on to win that one 17-10. Megan Abarta and Zoe Crouch earned MPSF honors for their performances. Abarta was named Player of the Week and Crouch was named Newcomer of the Week. Next up for Indiana is the Hoosier Invite, which begins March 7th.
That does it for Hoosier Sports Night this week, but don't forget to like our page IUS TV Sports on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at IUSTV Sports. For Miya, Ingle, and all of our production crew behind us and behind the cameras, I'm Jackson Kinney, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.